Sheikh, pre-sales for Checkpoint from Redington Value. So today I'd be introducing you to Checkpoint's mobile threat defense solution and ways to make it work in tandem with enterprise mobility management solutions. All right. So now the point here is that we know that very well that organizations are becoming more flexible, right? In order to ensure productivity, most common means to do so is that by bringing in frameworks such as that of bring your own devices, right? We have this framework which is like implemented wide across almost all across the regions, right? So the main focus of this region of bring your own device policy is to make sure that we give sort of flexibility to the end employees by allowing them to get in the devices which they own and join the our company infrastructure, and then they can access the resources which they generally access, right? So well, with this sort of flexibility that we are offering to the end employees, we are indirectly making a pave way for attacks, right? So where most common attack vectors being applications, or they could be in the form of network, or they could also be the device itself, right? So if we were to talk about applications in general, there was a report by Enterprise Mobile Threat Landscape which stated that nearly 10% of 50,000 Android phones host zero-day malware, as in the unknown malwares, right? Whose hexadecimal value is not known, whose SHA values are not known, and probably even the behavioral pattern is also unknown, right? So this kind of makes applications that you download even from the authorized app stores and web browsers quite unreliable, right? So you need to have a measure or a solution that can check on its reliability and check on the behavior of that particular application, whether or not to allow that application to execute freely inside your mobile phone, which you might be bringing in your organization as well. And when you bring such phones onto your organization, you're kind of compromising your security posture, right? So, and if we talk about networks, right? So attacks such as man-in-the-middle attack, phishing attack, and malwares and or backdoors downloaded from browser can also be quite dreadful and is also considered to be a common way, right? So and the third point is that device itself can become highly vulnerable or can act as an attack vector when it is not patched properly or updated in regular intervals of time, right? So we also need to make sure that our hygiene is intact, and that hygiene in the BYOD is always in terms of the devices that you're bringing in. It could be your iPad, it could be your tablets, it could be your phablet, it could be a mobile phone, it could be laptop, it could be anything. So we need to make sure that the devices that we are bringing in from our home, so that is exploit free, that is upgraded and patched properly, and then that shouldn't be jailbroken or rooted in some way or the other, right? As we know that devices become directly vulnerable, right? Or you could say the whole point here is to reduce the attack surface, which tends to increase if the native security is tampered, right? And you tamper the native security by either jailbreaking it or by rooting the whole device. So you need to have a solution that can detect and take appropriate actions on the jailbroken devices, right? So, so this is the strong need that that is being felt all across the organizations, right? So it's of quite importance for us to understand how mobile world is changing, right? Based on which we can analyze dangerous tactics which are being used by attackers to launch attacks directly on the end devices, right? So the first development is websites, which can be malicious. Nearly 63% of all web traffic is from mobile devices, right? So apart from that, there is a strong need felt again to have an MTD solution which is not only able to detect the attacks, right, but also prevent it. And it should be able to do the same even if it is not integrated with EMMS solutions such as that of Mobilan or AirWatch or Citrix, etc. Right? So in an attempt to safeguard organization, it's quite important for us to address the concern regarding data exfiltration, right? Where which is considered to be a common intention of any attacker post any attack cycle. As in the moment hooking is being done or attack persistence is being done, they tend to do exfiltration, right? So you need to have a right policy in place which can prevent this kind of exfiltration, right? So apart from that, phishing schemes, right? Phishing schemes, they generally tend to manipulate users into installing malicious applications and give away juicy information, right? So we need to have a solution which can block such phishing attempts. And nearly it is considered that nearly 90% of cyber attacks begin with phishing itself, right? Social engineering. So finally, there needs to be a corporate browsing policy restricting users what to browse and what not to browse. So you need to have a content filter, or you could say a URL filter in place, which is able to, you know, segregate that. Okay, these are the sites which are to be blacklisted, and these are the sites which are to be whitelisted. Right? It could be also on the basis of content. So it totally depends. So that is the need which is being felt, right? And then if you see, if you look into this deck, you can see that 75% of the devices were jailbroken, right? As in the BYOD. So whenever, when the BYOD was first implemented, a statistic was recorded, and then it was noted that nearly 75% of the devices that were brought into the company infrastructure were jailbroken or rooted, right? And nearly 89% of the phones, they experienced man-in-the-middle attack over Wi-Fi, because we know, there are various tactics which are being used by attackers to, perform man in the middle attacks, such as that of rogue access point creation, rogue SSID creation, right? So, or else using the cookies or replay attacks, right? These are some of the common techniques which are being used to kind of launch man in the middle attacks, right? So the name of mobile threat defense solution which Checkpoint has to offer is Sandblast Mobile, which is a leading threat defense solution to protect and prevent advanced mobile cyber attacks. Right. So moving forward, Sandblast Mobile provides protection against all these emerging attacks. Right. That could be the zero-day malwares, as in unknown attacks whose hexadecimal values or the SHA values might not be known, right? And secondly, they are able, Sandblast Mobile is able to detect the infected applications based on the behavior which is being exhibited by those applications, right? They could be downloaded from authorized Play Store, or you could just get the APK of that, and then you could just install it. So in either of the cases, be it from the Play Store or not, it is able to detect it and have it blocked if required, right? And then man in the middle attack over Wi-Fi, right? And anti-phishing, it has an anti-phishing blade as well to protect against the social engineering attacks. It could be spear phishing, it could be bulk phishing, or it could be a normal phishing attack as well. So then it provides you safe browsing. We'll talk about safe browsing in a while. And then it provides you with the anti-bot blade to prevent it against the botnet attacks, which form CNC connections. And then finally, it protects you against the OS exploits. Right. So moving forward, so when it comes to Sandblast Mobile Protect, it has two different kinds of protection to offer. One is on-device protection, okay. Another one is on-cloud protection. So there is a difference between two. So the difference is that there are some attacks or some kind of tactics which can be addressed right on mobile device itself. As in, the traffic isn't necessary, it doesn't have to traverse all across to the cloud for the analysis purpose. It could be blocked on the device itself almost immediately, right? Some of the fine examples would be anti-phishing, right? It has anti-phishing blade that can operate even without sending the traffic to the cloud for analysis. Then it has safe browsing, which is a service that provides, all list of URLs for web resources that contain malware or has a potential threat, right? And third is conditional access, as in posture policy. Fourth is anti-bot, and fifth is URL filtering blade. We'll talk about on-device protection in detail in a shorter while, right? So moving forward, how the whole thing works here. So Sandblast Mobile is a three-tier architecture, you could say. One is your device that is going to host an application called as Sandblast Protect application, right? It has to be installed on the phone itself. As of now, this application is supported in Android operating system and iOS operating system, right? And when you download and install this application, you need to register with the MTD, right? Sandblast Mobile. So the second tier is the MTD, that is your cloud engine, right? And the cloud engine is called as behavioral risk engine, right? It's meant to analyze all the patterns and behaviors which are being sent from the mobile device for the analysis purpose, and then it gives you out the verdict saying whether or not this is malicious, right? So now we need to understand how these two work in tandem, right? So how it works is that your machine, both of them, they work in combination of AI and ML. So here on the mobile device, there is a machine learning going on using the agent which we have installed in the form of an application called as Sandblast Protect, right? So what it does is that based on the behavior, right, it sends all the metadata to the cloud for analysis. For example, the behavior could be, let's say a ransomware attack is being launched, Okay, so in that case, a normal behavior would be, if an encryption routine is being invoked by Microsoft cryptographic service, that is legitimate, because Microsoft cryptographic service is the one which is responsible to invoke the encryption routine. But let's say that the encryption routine is running, but Microsoft cryptographic service is off. That's a clear indication that this particular encryption routine is not really being invoked by the Microsoft cryptographic service. It is rather being invoked by some third party application, or it could be some third party code which is running inside the phone, right? So now, these are the different kind of behaviors that your ML machine learning module of your Sandblast Protect records and sends it for further analysis to AI engine, that is BRE, behavioral risk engine. And inside the behavioral risk engine, this whole analysis takes place, and then behavioral risk engine, it gives you out the verdict whether or not this is malicious. Let's say it's found to be malicious, you could take a corresponding action on it, right? And the whole thing can be tuned, as in the policies can be framed, the whole thing can be monitored via a console, which is the third tier, right? So you can monitor and control policies on end devices using this dashboard, using this console, right? Now the good part, or you could say that the optimization here, is that there are certain attacks which can be blocked on premises. As I mentioned a while back, it could be blocked on premises, or you could say in the device level itself, right? So without having to send the traffic all across to the cloud for analysis purpose. So some of the analysis which can take on device itself will be jailbreak detection, as in to detect whether the device is jailbroken or has it been rooted, right? Or if there is any kind of a OS exploit which is not patched properly, so in that case that can also be detected right on the device itself, right? Furthermore, you could say that even the network level attacks, such as that of man in the middle attack or phishing, can also be addressed right on the device itself. So you do, for network attacks, for the posture policy, I would say, such as a posture, you can claim a posture policy saying that if the device is jailbroken or root exploit, or if there is any if it is not patched properly, block it right on the device, right? So these are some of the on-device protection that Checkpoint Sandblast Mobile has to offer. Right. Apart from that, as far as the cloud analysis is concerned, right? It is cloud analysis, in the analysis, the antivirus feeds, or you could say antivirus inspection, is being done. Then code flow analysis is being done. What is code flow analysis? Code flow analysis, as in, let's say that there is an application which is present inside your phone, right? And then behind the application, there is a code which is running. So that code, before it is allowed to run freely inside the mobile phone, this needs to be tested how exactly it is going to behave post the whole compilation, right? So you could, in nutshell, you could say that code flow analysis is to determine whether to determine the whole control flow of a program, right? And the third thing that you could say is that it gives you it tells you whether the app is reputed enough or not, based on the severity level. As in, there is a huge database of Checkpoint, what it does, and it has all the applications list, and each and every application has certain reputation which has been assigned to it based on certain heuristics, such as what kind of URLs did it try to contact, was there any past history of compromise, right? So all those details regarding reputation is being recorded inside the database. Okay, so the app reputation engine, what it does is that the moment you try to run a particular application, it checks whether that app is reputed enough for it to be run, for it to be allowed to run inside the mobile device, right? And last would be sandboxing, as in, let's say that the app is considered to be reputed. For example, there is a legitimate application, all right, and app was considered to be, and it was not, it kind of evaded the antivirus check, and then it was found to be a reputed application, but it had some kind of a code injection was being done on it, right? So what the sandboxing would do is that it is going to take that application traffic and have it simulated inside the BRE, behavioral risk engine, and it will be checked how exactly it executed. And based on the results, or you could say based on how it behaved, it's going to tell you that, hey, was this found to be malicious or not? And then let's say it was found to be malicious, it is going to take the corresponding action which you might have defined at the time of tuning the solution, right? So moving forward, if we talk about the EMM integration that you can do, you can have it integrated with most of the EMM vendors such as AirWatch, Mass 360, Mobileon, Citrix, Microsoft Intune, BlackBerry, etc. Right? And if we talk about the integration, there is no proxification which is taking place. As in the the SandBlast Mobile doesn't really proxify the traffic. It is not sitting in transit. It rather interacts with the UEM on the basis of API. Okay, so first of all, we need to understand, let me just give you a brief over what exactly a EMM is, right? EMM stands for Enterprise Mobility Management. It is also called as Unified Endpoint Management, UEM. All right. So earlier we used to have a different product sprawl altogether, as in to do MDM, as in to do device management, such as enrollment, retiring, wiping, etc. We used to have MDM, Mobile Device Management. All right. And for you to push applications to the end mobile phones, you used to have MAM module, Mobile Application Management. And for you to publish content sites and DFS, or you could say SharePoint, etc., you used to have MCM component. So you see, there was a sprawl of products. So nowadays, you don't really have to go for different products for each and every functionality. You could rather have it consolidated in the form of UEM or EMM solutions. All right. So one of the most important functions, or you could say, of EMM solutions is to provide containerization with per app tunnel capabilities and VPN capabilities. Apart from that, DLP capabilities, etc. Right. So now the question is, what can you expect out of this integration with EMM solutions, right? So once the integration is done, EMM handles the containerization, DLP, accessibility, you could say, or you can say that application management, content management, all those native functionalities would be handled by EMM. But the problem with EMM is that it doesn't. You can frame posture policies certainly with the EMM solutions, but you cannot really protect or prevent the attacks which are being launched directly onto it, right? So EMM becomes a very complete solution only after integration with your mobile threat defense solution, right? So you could say that the part of detecting and preventing the attacks would be handled by the mobile threat defense solutions, such as that of Checkpoint Mobile, right? So you could say that when it integrates with SandBlast Mobile, data managed by EMM, be it in rest or be it in motion, it will be protected by Checkpoint, right? So, and even if the attacks are directly being launched onto the device itself, you can still have it protected using Checkpoint SandBlast Mobile, right? So now, now it's not really necessary for you, and if we talk in terms of Checkpoint SandBlast Mobile, it's not really necessary for you to kind of integrate it with EMM all the time. As in, Checkpoint SandBlast Mobile can still function without EMM solution, right? If you install this on your device, it is going to start protecting your device, right? Based on the policies which you might have pushed from the management server of Checkpoint, right? So now there is a functionality inside Checkpoint. It's called as Capsule, right? So that's a workspace manager. So you can also have it integrated with Workspace Manager. So what Workspace Manager does is that the moment you enroll your phone, okay, it creates a separate workspace inside your phone, and that workspace will be totally independent of rest of the mobile's workspace. As in, you could say it's going to create two phones inside one phone, and you could say that one phone is going to be managed by Checkpoint infrastructure, that is for your company totally, right? And inside that workspace, you can push the applications, your in-house applications, your in-house document share repositories, your intranet websites, or you could say any email access can be provided, and anything which you desire, all the resources which you generally access can be placed inside the secure container, and then you can ensure that you have your secure access in place, right? So now now the point is that the secure container that we have, that is being pushed by Checkpoint and Checkpoint Capsule, right? The secure container will be encrypted, and then there will be DLP in place. So you cannot really copy and paste anything outside of that particular container, and it would restrict you if you try to take snapshots, or any attempt of data leakage will be prevented you here. All right, and let's say when the employee leaves the organization, you could have it remotely wiped as well. Remotely wipe as in the moment you take an action of remote wipe, all the applications, all the data which was being pushed from the checkpoint management server or checkpoint workspace, that is going to be wiped off, right? So there is no chance of data leakage over here, as you see, right? And even if you try to take a memory dump, or even if you try to, to kind of use tactics to steal it from directly from the storage, you cannot do it because this whole workspace will be encrypted, right? So you won't be having a corresponding decryption key, and it wouldn't let you put in any key in the first place, right? So you wouldn't be able to decrypt it. So now so if we talk about the capsule workspace excuse me, architecture, it's kind of straightforward here. Let's say you initiate a traffic from any of the applications which are present inside your capsule workspace. It could be your mail, it could be contacts, calendar, or it could be any in-house application. When you try to initiate a traffic from that, right, first it goes to the mobile access blade of checkpoint, where it is going to be checked whether or not from the management server you have defined a policy to allow that traffic, right? So based on, if you have framed a policy saying that, okay, if there is any traffic, if there is any traffic which hits the mobile access blade, allow it, so it is going to allow you, provide you the access. And let's say that if you haven't given that permission, it is not going to allow you for that, right? So moving forward, so inside this capsule workspace you can manage your corporate data, right, without having to manage devices. As in, it is very much specific about data. Since it's not a MDM, capsule workspace, even when you make it work in tandem with your MTD solution, it's not going to act like a MDM. It is only to manage your corporate data, right? And capsule workspace is just one single application. You can just put in the pin, you put one single pin inside that application, and you have access to all emails, you have access to calendars, you have access to intranet websites, secure applications, etc. Now, inside this particular container, as I mentioned a while back, whole of your data would be encrypted, even if when the data is in transit, right? So right. So as of now, the capsule application is present, is there for iOS and Android devices, right? And the day you leave the organization, you can wipe off the corporate data. Or even when, let's say that the device is stolen, or if it is lost somewhere, you don't have to worry, because even if the device is not connected to the internet, you can still have it wiped, right? And then the best thing would be to have your capsule workspace integrated with checkpoints and Blas Mobile. And once you do so, the data would be managed and protected inside this secure container, capsule workspace, and any attacks which are being directly launched onto the container or onto the device itself, that is going to be protected by the checkpoints and Blas Mobile. So this is how you can make your checkpoint workspace and your EMM solutions to work in tandem with that of your checkpoint Sandblast mobile, right? So that's pretty much it. So if there is any questions, please. Okay, so thank you very much for your time, guys. If you still have any questions, you can write back to me, and then I'll be more than happy to answer. And then very soon we are going to arrange a very concise training on this topic, and then I hope you all will join. Thank you so much for your time.